Jones on the backfields up in Owings Mills. I was there earlier in the week on Wednesday, and I tell you what, baseball is keeping us busy every single night as the Orioles are clawing and scratching not only with the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, but here come the Royals and the Detroit Tigers and Seattle and Houston and lots of other teams in the mix, keeping this guy busy. He is the longtime baseball columnist at USA Today and an MLB Network insider. He is Bob Nightingale. You can follow his journey at B Nightingale out on Twitter. He's been gallivanting around all these National League cities. Bob, I guess you're saving the American League for September because there can be plenty of places to be in the American League in September where there are meaningful baseball games at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Certainly planning to be AL East a lot in mid-September to end of September, particularly the way these teams all finish against each other. So it should be a wild ride, and there's no better division race in the AL East for sure.
You know, in May, I was talking to baseball writers like yourself, and nobody was really bought in on the Orioles yet. They like the Red Sox. In June, though, when they started to hit the ball and getting up on the All-Star break, I was giving every one of my guests a mythical dollar to place it on whether the Orioles would make the playoffs or not. Most people thought the Orioles were going to win the division. This fade shouldn't come as a shock given their pitching, but now the news comes out about Tillman, and this is a whole different thing they're trying to come underneath from now with O'Day and Tillman out, and guys like Davis and Wieters really struggling.
Yeah, they need Tillman. I mean, that would be a massive, massive blow. That's the biggest blow you can get. I mean, they're just a completely different team with Tillman and without him. It'd be a crushing loss. And it's a miracle, though, they've been able to survive this long with the pitching they've had. And they badly need Wade Miley to step up and be the pitcher they traded for. If not, they may be an outside looking in come October.
Well, I mean, we get on the trading deadline, and you spend, the better part of 6 weeks writing about it, listening to the rumors, and getting up on the trading deadline. The Orioles were never rumored to be making any sort of big splash in any way. They certainly didn't have the prospects to go out and get anything top flight. There wasn't a whole lot of pitching out there. I mean, I applauded when the Padres dealt Shields to the White Sox. I said, hey, they're trying to win on the South Side. When Drew Pomerantz went to Boston, I said, hey, they're trying to win. The Wade Miley thing, it felt to me at the time it was the best thing the Orioles could do, but I also questioned at the time whether it would be good enough.
Yeah, they kind of went the cheap route and did not want to give up prospects, obviously, and even Pomerantz was a lot bigger prospect involved than I thought, just because he's had such a shaky career so far. And you always wonder about guys going from the NL, particularly the NL West, to the AL East. It's such a different animal. So I thought, Miley thing made sense. I mean, at least he gives you innings. He takes the ball at all times. It just so far has not worked out.
Well, we heard about Dylan Bundy for so many years. He only had 2/3 of an inning before the season began. They sort of rushed him into the rotation under duress about a month ago. That's worked out better than I think they could have believed it was going to at this point. There have been some bright signs, but it's very clear with the beer league softball approach, they're not going to steal bases. They're not going to move guys around. They've been written about as being the slowest team in the history of Major League Baseball. This is really going to be about them hitting the baseball over the next 6 weeks. If they do that, they'll have a chance. If they don't do that, the pitching certainly won't be well enough to sustain them if they're only going to score 2 or 3 runs a night.
Yeah, they get outslug people, almost like the Blake Street Bombers or the Coors Field days in Colorado. That's just the way they were, line up. That's why they kept Trumbo and everybody else and trying to just outslug people. And for most of the seasons, it's worked, but now it's not working, and they got to score 5-6 runs a game just to give the team a chance to win.
Bob Nightingale joining us here from USA Today. Bob, Toronto and Boston, who do you like of those two, and how do you feel about the division in general? No one's really been all that bullish on either one of those teams. They've done enough to just be ahead of the Orioles, but certainly they don't look infallible in any way either.
No, the Red Sox, I like them for the season. I had them in the Cubs in the World Series, and Cubs are the popular pick. There goes why the Red Sox. I thought David Price would have a lights-out year. Now he's pitching like it. Porcello's had a huge bounce back. Buchholz has pitched much better. But that lineup is just so versatile, so deep. Good bullpen. I think they're the team to beat right now, going down the stretch with the Blue Jays also.
Well, a lot of these teams on the come now. I mean, we haven't talked much about the Royals in the last couple of months, and certainly the Tigers, the Mariners, the Astros, who've taken care of business with the Orioles. This is getting real crowded right now, and I would not be betting against the Kansas City Royals this moment, right?
I mean, they're playing well. But, sometimes it's like used to those NBA games, Nestor, where a team's down by 20, 25 points, come back and win like 4 or 5 points, and then it took so much energy to out of gas. So you wonder if the same thing's going to happen with the Royals. Like, okay, they're not going to keep playing like this. At some point, it's going to hit them. We'll see if it hits them here in a couple weeks.
Well, you talk about things hitting teams. Certainly for the Orioles and the Nationals getting together earlier this week. The big story on Monday was Strasburg. You'd like to think with an 8-game lead they have it wrapped up. The Cubs are obviously breathing easy right now as well. But not having Strasburg for a couple of weeks could affect them. But the big picture really is him taking the ball in October for them, where they fully expect they're going to be. This DL for them, it's a little bit of a luxury for them to be able to do that. For the Orioles, it's been a whole different game with Tillman.
Yeah, I mean they can survive. They're going to win the NL East, without Strasburg. It's no big deal, but they're not going to win the World Series or get the World Series and maybe win a playoff series if they don't have them. And they're being conservative here and saying, okay, let's make sure this guy is right. And we'll see. It still brings back the old question back in 2012. Did they do the right thing when they shut him down in the first place when they had a chance to win the World Series? And I think until that day comes, they'll always kind of live with that. Like, okay, did we make a mistake here? Because with Strasburg, they get past the Cardinals that first round. We saw what the Cardinals did. There's no reason why the Nationals could not have won that whole thing.
Well, there's a lot of guys sort of easing back from injuries, whether it's Yu Darvish in Texas, and certainly Dylan Bundy has been on some limited pitches as well. It's not unusual, but it really is sort of nut-cut time on whether you're a playoff team or not. And, letting guys go out there and pitch at this point in the season, you kind of would like to expect your starter to take the ball and go 6 or 7 most nights.
Yeah, that's what you need. I mean, you need you need. If you're a good starter, you're supposed to be winning 7 innings, 7 plus, and go from there. That's what a definition of a quality starter is, and and that's what the Orioles need with Miley. Miley's always been a guy that will always take the ball, whether injured or not, and give nice performances. Not lights out, but gives a lot of innings, and that's what they need. That's what the Blue Jays need, and they're doing the same thing with Aaron Sanchez. Stay in the minor leagues for 10 days just to give them a breather so that they're okay by the time October rolls around.
Certainly, you look at the Giants, and they'll be in a battle with the Dodgers to the end, and here come the Cardinals, and I know you've been in St. Louis this week with the Mets as well. Miami's still involved. The Mets still involved. The wild card in the NL, especially the second wild card, because I will concede that the Dodgers and the Giants are the better teams, and I know the Giants have had their boat rocked a little bit, but this is going to be a fascinating little 4 or 5 teams battling for 2 spots there as well.
Yeah, it will be. National League is very interesting. I mean, Mets are still hanging on. I don't know how that's happening. The Pirates are alive. Cardinals, seem very solid for at least number 2 wild card spot. And you think the loser of the NL West gets a spot too. It's amazing what the Dodgers have done. They picked up 10 games of standings on the Giants, since Clayton Kershaw went down. It's also a big, the Giants have fallen apart too. Reason for a big part of the standings. But it's amazing with that kind of depth the Dodgers had to stay alive.
Bob, I spent the weekend out on the north side of Chicago. I also went to the south side. I saw the White Sox play the A's on Sunday. I love the elotes of Comiskey Park. Give me a sausage and a beer and the corn at Comiskey Park, and I'm a happy man. Wrigley's a pain in the ass, but I was there not for baseball, but for Pearl Jam. And there wasn't even baseball going on, and obviously Eddie Vedder's the big Cubs fan and all that. The amount of interest, the amount of heat on the north side of Chicago, and you've been doing this a long time, I don't know that there will ever be a more anticipated Game 1 of a playoff series than there will be for the Cubs. It will be at home. They better win Game 1, right, Bob?
Yeah, they do. Panic will start to set in. They've been good in the past. 07, 08? They had the best record in the National League. Look like they might be the team to beat. But now the expectations are so high for what happened last year. He's spending the money in free agency, and of course, get off the start that they had. So, I mean, if they somehow got knocked out first round, whether it be the Cardinals or someone like that, I think MLB and Fox TV would be slitting their throats.
Well, I tell you what, for us being in the middle of the Dexter Fowler story, the whole word was, he's turned down all this money, he's made a huge mistake. I have a feeling he's going to get twice as much money this offseason, right?
He should get a nice contract. He's getting up there in age. He's had a nice, solid season. What he turned, I don't know if he turned down. He's still on the SIT. He never got off of that. But at least was talked about was 3 years, around 33, 35. And we'll see what he gets. Might be slightly more than that. I don't think he'd be a ton more than that. But he's certainly been a very valuable guy for the Cubs. And with their injuries and Jason Hayward, struggling like he has, he's been a lifesaver.
Well, I don't think he has any regrets about going to Chicago, right?
No. He knows those guys and stuff like that. And listen, every just like the Red Sox back in '04, those guys have been remembered forever. Everybody wants to be part of that Cubs team that finally wins that first World Series. Never have to buy a dinner and drink it again in their lives in that city.
You fly around and you see all these teams play, and we're seeing pretty much who the Orioles play. Every team, it feels to me, has sort of an under 27, under 28 superstar at some position. Who's your favorite player in baseball right now to watch? Who's the guy that you get jacked up to fly in and see play?
There's so many. It's tough to pick one. But you're right. It's like they're everywhere. Just in Houston last week, it's a blast to see Carlos Correa play. This guy is so great. Lindor from Cleveland. Of course, you got, Trout and Harper, of course. Machado's in that conversation. He could, if the Orioles could win that division, he'd have every right as anybody to win the MVP. So just so many great young players out there. It's become a young man's game, with no more HGH and no more amphetamines. You better have a lot of energy to play well.
Well, you're going to have a lot of energy for this pennant race, man. Happy trails to you out there on the road. I hope our paths cross at some point here at Camden Yards if the Orioles can continue to hang around. Good baseball season, man. As many teams involved as we get up on Labor Day as I can think ever, right? There are more places where there is hope than there's probably ever been on Labor Day.
Yeah, it's been an intriguing year, and the division races are kind of crummy. There's only a couple left, but the wild cards make it interesting. And nobody wants to play that one wild card game, and everybody feels sorry for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have hosted that thing 3 times and lost the last 2. And as they'll tell you, there's no more crushing blow. Spend your whole season trying to get the playoffs, and your playoff experience lasts less than 24 hours.
There's no movement afoot to change that, though, right? I mean, they're on the timing they're on. It'll always be a one-gamer, right? Unless they back the season up to 154 or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason for it, Nestor, is just in the sense where if you have too long of a playoff, it kills you. We've seen that in the World Series before with the Tigers and Rockies, that sort of thing. It's just if you have a week off, it throws you out of whack. So if you win the division, take the Chicago Cubs, it's unfair for them to sit around 7 or 8 days waiting for the wild card winner.
Bob, we'll be following you at B. Nightingale on Twitter. We always do. It's always great to catch up with you. And happy trails. Enjoy some baseball here as football season gets started here in Baltimore, too.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks,
you got it. Bob Nightingale. He is B. Nightingale out on Twitter. Longtime baseball coverer at USA Today. He's also on the MLB Network as an insider there as well. You can find me out on Twitter at WNST as well as at Nestor Aparicio. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. We Facebook live stream all of our work now. So if you friend or follow me on Facebook, you'll have that. And out on YouTube on our WNSTV channel as well. Anything you miss here, you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We come in crystal clear, no static at all, where you want, when you want, how you want. It's the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault at WNST.net. Our morning newspaper hits your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. All the box score standings, big news stories, headlines of the day, all there for you to peruse at WNST. And we deliver it in the morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there, even as the bikini season goes away. And any breaking news as the Ravens pair the roster, as the Orioles continue to play around before the 40-man comes next week, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Kolatzis will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5 and getting you ready for the weekend. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.